First, bringing the AMISOM team together, military, police, civilian components. It's huge, it's important that progress has been made because they think together, which is important. Secondly, we've been supporting stabilization efforts in liberated areas. Even things like providing water to the people, refurbishing a health center, working on building police stations, etc. This is key for any legitimacy that the government would have, and also for our own presence, because we'll be closer to the communities. Thirdly, of course, our first job, go after Al-Shabaab, degrade Al-Shabaab, destroy as many as we can. And this is an ongoing business. We had 2 operations, Eagle and Indian Ocean, that finished, and then people had this impression that we went into a lull that would benefit them, and it has benefited them in a sense, because maybe they got emboldened in the asymmetric warfare they're imposing on Somalia and all of us. So this is why now we have restarted a huge operation called Juba Corridor that we won't stop until we see them out of the places they're controlling and terrorizing people, taking taxes, etc. Let me give you an example. Bardere, Dinsur just liberated. People come to our people and say, don't leave. Please don't leave. Please help us train our own people to get ready to fight them. And they even provide our soldiers and the Somali National Army who are there with food, with water. While we know these as elements that are also not so, they are scarce in their area. So it shows you a little bit the trust and of confidence that people are gaining, and the will they have to fight Al-Shabaab, because this is not a way of life, living under terror and always watching your back and paying taxes unduly to somebody. So these are the things I think in which we have made progress, coming together, supporting stabilization efforts, for which we need even more support from the international community, because when we talk about liberating a country, it's not just a gun issue. It's really about the people having their God-given right to the basic. Well, you know, it's a society also of solidarity and of gratitude. But of course, it's always difficult to have military presence so long with you. Even if a person has to come to help you, you want that to happen fast or faster, so that you can go back to normal life. And sometimes there are frustrations, but we also teach our soldiers to know more about the ways of people, their culture, so that, you know, they're respectful of our culture, but also sometimes that means respectful of our rights. You know, we are bound to by the due diligence policy of the UN Secretary General. So and that respecting their culture is a way of ensuring that we also keep close to that. For example, you know, there are ways to approach women in a culture like that one, in Islamic society, etc. You don't do it like you do it in the street of, let's say, my place or here in Nairobi, in big cities. There are ways to do that. You know, our soldiers know their own protection to children and women, for example. So all these things we tell them before deployment, during the time they are there, and particularly during operations. And we also have been very mindful of civilian casualties. We have in place what we call a CCTAR, which is Civilian Casualty Tracking Cells, to make sure that if something happens, it's documented, it's followed through, it's investigated, it's compensated, etc. We have all these things, instruments in place. Plus, of course, the policy, African Union policy on sexual exploitation and abuse. And even if one of our vehicles got into a cow or a sheep or a goat, that's recorded, and compensation is sought, simply because we're talking about people and their lives and their culture and the respect we owe them, beyond just fighting a war against terrorists. It is difficult because you have a mission of fighting people who are lawless, who respect no life, who don't have any concern about building anything, they're destroying. You after them, and sometimes you're in such a hurry that you can't even stop and say hi the right way, or how are you, sir? So I know where I come from, and in Somalia as well. You can spend minutes and so many minutes just saying hello, how are you, how's your wife, how's your daughter, how's your region. We wish we could be more intertwined with them, more interacting more with them to better understand and to serve better. It's not easy for me. I guess it's even more difficult for our soldiers who are really in trenches, in armored vehicles, and who sometimes get a call. We have to rush and support a village, or rush and support your companions who are attacked. Those kind of things. But this is a priority for all of us, not only for AMISOM, Somalia, but also for this region. I don't have to go back to what happened in Garissa or Westgate some time back to see how that's important. We have to crush them there so that they don't not only span physically elsewhere in the region, but also they don't propagate their policy or their credo of hatred among people. Because theirs is to divide. If they can divide the Kenyans, they will do it, and they are at it. They have already divided people in Somalia, playing one clan against the other. They will divide Muslim and Christians. They'll divide Muslims among themselves and kill one another. So this is why it's a main task, and that's mandated by AU and the UN Security Council. Secondly, we can't do it forever. We can't do it all the time. So we have to work at bringing up the Somali security forces to the level where they take business into their hands, but working with their communities. Because mind you, this is not a job that the military can do alone. It has to be a community affair. Police, when you're talking about African police training Somali police, we know at the end of the day, it's community policing that will do the job. Because Al-Shabaab, in certain places, is the brother, the cousin, the uncle of somebody who has at stake to ensure that there is peace in their area, so that they have water, education for children, their health, etc. Just like any normal being. We have to have community policing so that people come out. Because somebody who's a Muslim, who kills a Muslim, to me he's not a Muslim. He's something else. He's some kind of brutal savage. It cannot be my brother or my cousin or my uncle. So there is some work to be done there as well. But it's community, community, community. Listen, in Somalia you had civil war first. Then you have this crazy ideology now of Al-Shabaab. It's taken 25 years for them to be in this kind of situation. It will take some time to get out of it. Ours, as I said, is to train, to mentor, to strengthen the Somali security forces to gradually take over from us. But the mistake that we will do as African Union, or the regional players, the troop contributing countries and police contributing countries will do, is to say, I'm pulling out now. That would be the mistake to make if we cannot sit and assess now is the time, because the main part of the job has been done. It will be a mistake because, as I said earlier, Al-Shabaab will follow you when they're not already present in some of the countries. They will follow you because that's their ideology. From the Horn all the way to Tanzania, impose their view of the world. So I am not one who would say, let's get out of here. It's done when it's not done. Security forces, Somali security forces are ready to take over, or have done great progress in taking over. And Al-Shabaab has been degraded to an extent that they don't control areas in the rural areas, because that's where also they impose their philosophy, and where they recruit, they make money to continue. We really have to go after them. And I was telling you earlier, we're not stopping this operation this time around. We can't afford to stop it like we did the other time. We had one, we stopped. We had another one, we stopped. We can't stop. It has to, and I hope really that our partners out there who listen the Europeans, the Americans, all the Africans, the Chinese understand that this is the time now to move ahead and finish the job. In passing, I would like to say to your viewers, particularly in China, but we've been very pained for the loss of life that we have recently at the attack against Al Jazeera Hotel, where we lost one of your compatriots. I was with the ambassadors 3 days ago because, you know, we have provided support to remove them from the hotel, but also they are living with us in international compound now until a solution is found. But this shouldn't stop us. This is, I mean, China knows about those sacrifices. You have to sacrifice for what you stand for: freedom, peace among nations. And we wish we all looking towards the day when China's companies, enterprises will be all over Somalia and help us build roads, army headquarters, barracks. We're looking towards that day, because Somalis, you can tell anything you want about them, but you cannot say that they're not enterprising people. They love business. I mean, I wish I know about business the way they do. And when you come, I hope you'll come to Mogadishu one day. You go through the city and you see all these cranes coming up, this construction going on. People believe that it's working. So it's not for us in the media or quote-unquote international community observers to say, well, what's going on here? A bomb has gone off here, so it's a problem. Bombs, as you know, you have them more in Yemen and Syria and Iraq these days, and you can possibly have them in Somalia. But it's also a way we present things sometimes that make people believe, oh, this place is not governable. And it's happening. We'll have election next year, I'm sure. We'll have a crop of people who really believe in their country. And let's see how we move from there. As I said earlier, if you intend to defeat Al-Shabaab only by utilizing military means, you know they won't be eradicated that way. You'll degrade them, you'll weaken them, but it has to be continued with some more things. Stabilization efforts, providing to the people, enforcing laws, rule of law is very important, better governance in the country. You know that you need to have people take all these things in their hands and say, it's our country, we're going to do it for ourselves. So it won't happen in 2, 3, 4 years for sure, but you said no more Al-Shabaab, because Al-Shabaab is also, the name is Islamic State elsewhere, the name is Boko Haram elsewhere, the name is, it's this ideology of hatred and war and terror that is global, that we are fighting, all of us. So it will happen gradually, but if you provide all this, look into all these dimensions I'm mentioning, surely we'll get to a day where Somalia would be a place where, yes, you may have things here and there, but just like you may have things in New York or Washington or whatever it is, or in his country, Nigeria, where you have Boko Haram, maybe in the northeast doing havoc, but in other places you just have this insecurity. We have just to be patient. Sometimes we're all too impatient with these things, but it took so long to take root. So we have to gradually unroot problems. Well, I'm surprised to hear that, because we are present in these regions. We are in Baidoa, we are in Kismayo, we are in Beletwen, in different places. And now it's about really a plan to see, look at the election plans. We also look at the, consultation will be happening from now on all over Somalia for people to understand better about the constitution, about what is at stake with the elections, to make sure that minorities and women, etc., have a voice, etc. We will be accompanying all these. If you ask me if I want more troops, I say, yes, bring it on. But we know that we have a surge provided by UN Security Council of 22,000 troops. We're working within that. With so many things to do, from securing main supply routes, to guarding buildings, to fighting Al-Shabaab, to training Somali national forces, etc., etc. It's a lot of work. First question, yes, we work together with UN to agree on the fact that there is need for a configuration of AMISOM. As we stand now, we are less mobile than we should be. In 2013, UN Security Council 2124 said that AMISOM should have enablers, among other things, helicopters, 12 of them, to help in our job. That is required now. It's coming. In September we'll have those helicopters. But even now we have troop countries that are providing helicopters to this operation we are in. Secondly, AMISOM is organized in sectors, sector 1 to 5. This one clearly is not helping us as much as we want. The operation that is ongoing is showing that we're going beyond these sectors. We're already working across sectors. We need more of that. And with helicopters, with special forces, with quick reaction forces, we'll get to that. On the issue of CONOPS, I think from tomorrow or last week, we are already drafting our own CONOPS, but we'll submit to, of course, African Union, Peace and Security Council, also work with the UN and UNSOA to make sure it's one that is tenable, but is one that is operational. So that one will also be done, and Security Council will have it before October, definitely. The Somalia that I foresee is one that is at peace with itself, internally, that is taking part of the development of its region. With the resources Somalia has, I have no doubt it's be a major player in contributing to the development and stability of this region. I wish and I foresee Somalia that is very much part of the Security Council. If you recall, some time back, during apartheid, Somalia was training the freedom fighters. In the past, in 1974, I believe, 1974, Somalia hosted the EU summit. People tend to forget that. And people were going all over the world to train in Somalia. I mean, military, normal military, not terrorists as we see today. So my hope, my wish, and the Somalia I see, is that Somalia that is part of a concept of nations.